We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. And as always, the name kind of explains everything. We're giving you advice based on everything we did wrong the first time. Now, I'm assuming that my guest has made these mistakes, but at least everything I did wrong the first time. Each week I bring on founders, investors, product experts, technology futurists, sales gurus, and just about anyone who is incredibly bright and smart and can help us work out how to build a great business. Then together, we answer the questions that you send in. So they're either from emails that you're sending in or from Reddit that I'm finding by going into deep Reddit holes. But these are real questions that people are facing in their businesses, and the guests have never heard these questions before. So if you have a question or you're trying to put out a fire in your business, send them through. We'll workshop them on the show. Send them through to podcast@joeldtrapani.com. Now, I have got feedback a few times that why the hell did I choose such a hard email address? Well, that's just my name, okay? So send those through. I'm going to put that email address in the show notes so you can just copy and paste that one. And I'm your host, Joel Trapani. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Vigo. Vigo is an edtech scale-up. We've grown it through Australia, we've grown it through the UK, and now we're focused on the US. On top of that, I'm an advisor and a coach in the product space where I help startups and businesses work out how to build great product teams, because building a great product team is the real secret on how to build a great product. And today, I'm super excited to be joined by Jahin Tanvir, a young Australian with an insane resume. He's the CEO and co-founder of the Australian School of Entrepreneurship. He's a 3-time TEDx speaker, a board director, a guest university lecturer, and a social commentator. Jahin was named in the 40 under 40 most influential Asian Australians in 2022 when he was just 21, which means that he's still only 22 is my guess. The Australian School of Entrepreneurship Group is a community-led, purpose-driven business for good. Hang on, I'm going to say this one again. The Australian School of Entrepreneurship Group is a community-led and purpose-driven business for good that delivers life skills, education, entrepreneurship, and employment programs to Australians of all ages. Their mission is to equip every Australian with the skills and resources and mindset that they need to start a business or enter the workforce, regardless of their postcode. In less than 1.5 years, which is the whole time that he's been doing this, he's had over 180,000 people participate in his programs, which is just absolutely insane growth. Jahin is obviously an expert at helping people achieve the best versions of themselves. But what I'm constantly blown away by is his ability to build his own brand. It's just incredible to watch on all the different kind of like social platforms that you see him on. So let's jump into it. Welcome, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, mate. Very excited.
Well, look, before we jump into my Reddit challenges, I'd love you to tell me a little bit more about ASE Group or the Australian School of Entrepreneurship. Well, what is that for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Australian School of Entrepreneurship fundamentally is all about teaching life skills. So for me growing up, I never felt like I learned the life skills such as public speaking, managing my own money, emotional intelligence at school or university. And I really struggled going into the workforce. And so I thought with, these regrets that I always had of, I wish I learned these skills. Why not provide that to other Australians? And so at the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, we provide life skills education to schools, universities, corporates, sports teams, hospitals, you name the industry. We've upskilled them all around life skills or employability skills or soft skills as they're more primarily known as.
I love it, man. Well, if you want to check that out more, we're going to put all the information, all of the links into the show notes as well. So you can check out ASE, and also you can check out all of Jahin's socials. So you can just follow that and watch the masterclass unfolding there. So let's jump into the questions. This first challenge is called, I have an idea. Where do I start? I have an idea for an app. I know everyone says that, but I have a very little idea on how to get started. I believe it's a solid idea, and I haven't seen another one on the App Store like what I'm trying to do. I've read about no-code app builders, and I'm thinking of going down that route. I feel like I should find someone who knows what they're doing. I would love a partner who knows how to build an app, but I think I'll probably have to figure this out on my own. Where do I even start? And this is from Where Did I Park My Llama? Which has to be an all-time great name on this show, which I love. So yeah, I thought, look, what better questions to start, with the man who started the Australian School of Entrepreneurship of where to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting question. I think first and foremost, before you even ideate or brainstorm any sort of business or product or service, my go-to advice is always ask questions, get mentorship, get people in the industry that you admire and ask them questions on how they started. Because the reality is, I truly believe there's no original ideas that exist anymore. everything's already been done in some sort of iteration. You can always find people that are in the similar industry or have done something similar to you that you can go and say, hey, I'm interested in doing XYZ. I see that you've done Z. Can you work backwards or give me some sort of advice on how I should get started? But also, what should I avoid? What should I avoid doing that you made an error in that I can learn from and you can give me that wisdom? And so I think number one, ask as many questions. My mother has this beautiful philosophy of God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more than you speak. So listening as much as you can, finding people in the industry that you can go to and ask, and especially in this day and age, it's so easy to find people who would have been very inaccessible 10, 15 years ago. Things like LinkedIn, social media, just sending them a direct message and saying, hey, I'd love to grab 15 minutes of your brain time. I'll buy you a coffee in return. I just want to get some advice. It's so easy. And that's how I started when I was about 18, 19. I would literally slide into DMs of random people on LinkedIn that I admired. And I would say, hey, I just want 15 minutes of your time just to learn from you. And in return, and at the time we were in lockdown and stuff, I will send you an Uber Eats voucher so you can buy an iced latte or an ice cream or your dinner right now. And so it's so easy to ask and find people. And so I would recommend that being step number one. Step number two, and it's one of my favorite principles in our ideation workshop. So at the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, we teach ideation. So how can you go from an idea to impact and creating a business solution or a social change solution? And that principle that I always go back to is asking the question of why. Why am I starting this? Why should I do this now? Why should I care? Why shouldn't I join someone else that already is doing something similar? Why do I need a co-founder? Asking why gives you so much clarity that in most times you tend to avoid because you are so focused and fixated on the end goal and the outcome that small things, the small processes, that small question of why has really helped in finding the decision that you need to make. And once you find your why, and as they say, when you find that meaning, everything else becomes much easier. So I'd say those two things would be the first two steps I would take: asking questions, finding people that have done it before, and then asking why. Why do I really want to do it? And a lot of your insecurities, a lot of your questions that you feel like I don't know the answer to will come to fruition when you just ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why do I need to do it now? Why do I need X amount of investment? Why do I need a co-founder, etc.?
Man, point number one, I could not agree with more. Like, always, it doesn't matter if you're day one or, day 10,000. You should always be surrounding yourself with people who are a couple of steps ahead of you. My company is called Vigo, which is short for Vygotsky. And so we're named after the psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who came up with this idea called the social development theory. And the social development theory is this idea that if you are this student and you're trying to learn anything, you want to become a business executive, a mathematician, a surfer, like anyone who's like an expert, you don't necessarily need to learn from someone who is like 50 steps ahead of you. You can sometimes actually learn best from someone who's just one step ahead of you. So someone who has just started out their business, they know how to build, or someone who is, 2 grades ahead of you in math. And the reason that it's so effective to learn from someone like that is because they understand the content that you're trying to learn, but they also understand the social context that you're going through. So I built a whole business around connecting people in this exact same idea. So I'm so adamantly like in support of that idea that ask people for help, ask people for advice, and you're going to learn so much. But that doesn't stop at day one. That just goes for the rest of your business. Constantly surround yourself with people. And I always call myself the king of cold outreach, but I might be getting rivaled here actually, because I reckon you're probably pretty savage at this as well. But I'm constantly reaching out to people being like, what do I want to learn about? I'm just like, I want to learn about board games. So I just reach out to people who are distributors. I want to learn about developers. I reach out to people who are developers. Like if you could, people love talking and giving advice. So if you ask for advice, they're more than happy to do it. So that's a great piece of advice. And just know that like a lot of people will ignore you, and that's totally fine. But just keep asking. A lot of people will end up saying yes as well. You just got to put the reps in.
Yeah, and Joel, I'll let you rival you on that. Funny enough, so when I was 18 years old, first year university, I moved to Canberra to study, and I was studying optometry, which is I'm very infamously known to be someone who comes from a healthcare background to now a completely different field. And I was 18, I was miserable. I hated what I was studying. I was studying optometry. I was in a dark corner checking people's eyes. I did not like it at all. And so I needed an escape mechanism. And so what I used to do every single week, instead of on a Friday night going out and partying as an 18-year-old would do at university, I would abuse Gmail in the capacity that you could schedule a total of 100 emails every 24 hours. That's all you could do, right? You can't schedule more than 100. 100 is a limit. I would schedule 100 emails on a Friday night to go out every single day on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to different organizations like not-for-profits, to companies, to volunteering organizations, to random people I found on LinkedIn, their email address from their LinkedIn account. And I would just say, hey, I'm 18. I don't enjoy what I'm doing. Can I grab 15 minutes of your time? I did that for about 6 months as an 18-year-old. Instead of partying and enjoying my life, I did that. And I truly, like, my lesson from that, and for the person who asked the question, the reality is, and this is obviously in the world that we live in, 90% of people you email or cold outreach will not respond, right? That's the reality of it. You have to follow up, you have to actually put effort and try to get their attention. But the 10% that actually respond back to you, and this is something you can use in my life as a case study, those 10% truly change your life, because when they give you your time and you're actually seeking their time and wisdom and energy, those 10% become advisors, mentors, a really good chat, or in the future become a business opportunity, a partnership opportunity, or you meet them in person and they become a really good lifelong friend. And so that would be sort of my experience in the form of cold outreach and just meeting people. It sounds intimidating. It's just like, will this person respond back to me? Are they just going to reject me? Which is all part of the process. But the 10% that get back to you, honestly, use my life as a case study. It's transformational. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. I love that. It's a good example because you did that before you had an idea and it's added value. And you're doing it now, post having major success in your business too. So there's so much potential in surrounding yourself with a community. And a community, sometimes you can get lucky and fall into it, but more often than not, like, you need to build an intentional community around you as well. And that happens from cold outreach. So I don't think any advice can even rival that. But on your second point there, Jahin, you said ask why. And back before I started Vigo, I used to run these like design thinking workshops, which it sounds like pretty similar to what you're doing. And we used to have this this rule. I didn't make it up, but it's called the 5 whys. And you just ask someone why 5 times in a row, and you get to a much deeper core issue. So I think it's a super valuable tool. But I would just give you advice, but I'm going to reframe it completely. And it's probably not as nice as the way you did it. But like, your idea is probably shit. Okay, that's the reality of it. Maybe your idea is okay. But the fact that you have an idea and you're not really thinking about the problem means that you're actually focusing on this from the wrong perspective. You don't have a business based on an idea. Businesses exist to solve a problem. And the way that you solve that needs to constantly change over time and evolve. I know when Jahin first started his business, which I'm assuming it was around giving people more of the skills in the entrepreneurship space. But I see over time that's actually transitioned to helping give more people skills into joining the workforce as well. And he's moving away from that because he's seeing the problem that he's having to solve over time is shifting as well. So don't get so focused on your idea. That might be cool, but like, ideas don't really mean shit. What means shit is having a problem that you're passionate about that you can solve as well. And so that's essentially what Jahin is saying as well. Like, ask why. Why are you building this? Like, what is the point of this? What's the problem that it is solving? And so I think if you start there and you validate that it's a real problem and validate really that this idea will solve it, that's the right place to start.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, Joel, as well, one of my favorite quotes that one of my mentors taught me, funny enough, when I was like 19, a year of hustling for mentors, his lesson to me was be obsessed with the problem. Obsession, that was the word he used, where it's like, you want to know everything about the problem, not the solution first and foremost, the problem. Why is it difficult? How is it impacting people? Who are the people being impacted? Becoming obsessed with it. And as you mentioned, similarly with the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, with the branding name, the word is entrepreneurship. And you'd think we're creating business owners, we're creating entrepreneurs every single day. And that was the goal at the beginning, to make sure young Australians can create side hustles, become business owners. And then we realized the problem isn't them starting a business. I'd say about, don't get me wrong, entrepreneurship is very trendy, but not everyone wants to be a business owner. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. But on the flip side, every single person that exists wants to have skills that are transferable, that are life skills. For example, when we teach public speaking, which is my favorite skill of them all, public speaking and the learning, the development of skills in communication doesn't just help you in interviews or to do a TED talk or at the workplace, but it can help you build relationships, make friends, go on a date and know how to ask questions and build a relationship there. They're transferable life skills. And so we realize the problem isn't starting a business and every young person will start a business. It's actually the skills, that entrepreneurial mindset, those skills that come from being an entrepreneur. That's the problem that we wanted to address. And similar to what you mentioned, we just asked, why is this? Well, why are we doing this? Why is this a bigger problem than starting your own business? And that's how we got to that point.
Yeah. I think that's getting obsessed with the problem is such good advice. So look, I'll try and boil this down here. So look, to the Reddit post though, where did I park my llama? You have an idea and you want to know where to start. Really, there's just 2 points that you need to know. First one is surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do. Someone who's a couple stages ahead of you, someone who's maybe started a business in a similar position, or maybe someone who's just started a business in general, someone who has some of the skills that you want to develop. But constantly surround yourself with people that you can learn from so that you can understand, are you going in the right direction? Is this a good idea? Is this a shitty idea? The more people you surround yourself with, you're going to have more motivation, you're going to have more direction, and it's just going to make your life better and your business better. Then the second thing is, just because you have an idea doesn't mean you have a good business in front of you. Any idea that you have is meaningless unless you're solving a real problem. So for a second, just forget that you even have an idea and work out what problem you're trying to solve and get hyper obsessed about the problem you're trying to solve and use that as your starting point. And if your idea is the right solution, great. But if it's not, make sure that there is a problem really there at the center of what you're trying to do. And that's it. You have been advised. Where did I park my llama? That's that one done. And we'll move on to our second question. All right. This challenge is called, is being an entrepreneur even worth it? I'm 26. All of my friends have surpassed my income by a multiple of 2. Is it even worth continuing on this path? People with jobs make $80K a year outright. I have to generate so much more revenue than that to be even able to pay myself $60K a year. Is this even worth it? And this is from Memory of a Fish 22.
What are these names? Fantastic. So this is probably a question I have this is a discussion of a question I have so many times in my personal life mainly. And my answer to that is it depends on where your end goal is, right? I have a lot of friends who are incredibly happy, fulfilled, and satisfied having a 9-to-5 job, getting married, having kids. That is their definition of success. That is what fulfills them. For me, my definition of success and what fulfills me is that grind, that idea that I get to put effort into something and I'll get progress. I'll see outputs on the other side. That for me is the goal. I don't check if it's a 9-to-5. It could be a 8-day-a-week thing, 24/7. Doesn't matter what it is. That for me is my end goal. I want to be able to, provide that level of fulfillment to myself. And so to answer frankly to the person, it just depends on what your end goal is. What is your definition of success? Everybody's definition of success is very different. For me, a lot of my friends my age are getting married, they're having kids. For me, that's like a thought on the other side of my brain, because right now my goal is building the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, building this company, creating a legacy that we can impact as many Australians, but also people across the globe now. And so is it worth it if you enjoy the lifestyle, if you enjoy the certain things like having to grind, having to go through rejections, having to go through those emotional roller coasters, then absolutely. If adrenaline is what pumps you, absolutely. But if that's not what you enjoy, no. There's plenty of careers out there. There's plenty of occupations. There's plenty of goals out there. Just choose what fits your personality, your mindset, and the direction of life that you want to take. And so, again, my answer would be, just depends on what your definition of success is and where your end goal really makes you fulfilled. Not happiness. Again, Joel, I'm not a believer that happiness is the metric for success. I think happiness is a fleeting emotion. I could have a Cadbury chocolate right now and I'll feel happy for about 90 seconds and then I'll be like, I need to go to the gym. That was so many calories. I feel horrible. But for me, the end goal and metric for success is, after a long day, do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel like I put as much effort into my day to make me feel like, oh, wait, that was a good ass day? That's the goal.
Yeah. It's a hard question to answer. And, you mentioned a little bit earlier, but entrepreneurship is very trendy. Like, it's very cool to have a startup. It's very cool to be a founder, to be a co-founder. It's very cool to get investment. And I do think because of like how trendy and glamorized or glamified the startup space is, there's like this draw to it that everyone feels like they should be involved in it. And what I would say is that everyone should be more entrepreneurial. Everyone should take on a lot of the skill sets that entrepreneurs have, and a lot of the critical thinking and grind that entrepreneurs have, and take that to whatever that they're doing. And everyone should consider if being in a startup is right for you. But I think even though everyone should be more entrepreneurial, most people shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Like, starting a business, I say this all the time, it is the best job in the world and it is the worst job in the world. Like, it has both. It's like extremely polarized, and you have both sides of that coin. And so sometimes it's awful for a long time, and sometimes it's great for a moment. But for some people, that moment of greatness is so worth it when you see that growth and that change and that challenge that you've come through, and the impact that you've been able to make. Like, if that makes you feel fucking good inside, and if that's what like you strive for, then yeah, you should be a founder. But to this person, memory of a fish, it sounds like you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Like, you don't. People shouldn't be an entrepreneur, but like, if what you really care about is making 60K a year or 80K a year, and all these people, like, there's way easier ways to make money than being an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs are making nothing ever. Some make a fuckload, but most never make it. And so like, if what is actually really important to you is financial security, that's totally fine. But you should chase that, not as an entrepreneur. You should chase the financial security. If you're willing to wear that risk and the pain that comes along with it, and you get, like, satisfaction, and you deem success from the growth and the challenge of a startup, then you should go down that path. But what Jahin said is right, is that it is about who you are and how you measure success in your life. There's no right answer. But if I was to generalize, for most people, I think the answer is no.
Yeah, and also to add to that, I think people's personalities also dictate their career and level of risk that too much coffee, that they can take. So for me, for example, I would never be satisfied with just a 9 to 5, because I know the moment it's 5 o'clock or 5:01, my brain will just be like, what do I do now? What do I do now? Like, I need to focus on something that I feel like I'm building and contributing to. Me just going for dinner afterwards at 5 o'clock doesn't fulfill me. It makes me feel like maybe I'm wasting my time. Maybe I should do something that's much more worthwhile. And so entrepreneurship or running a company, that for me is addictive because it fits my personality. I've got a very type A personality. I wouldn't be able to survive as an optometrist from 9 to 5 and then being like, let me go by the beach and sit down and relax. That's not joyful for me. If anything, that's torture. And so I think finding out what your personalities are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and then making a solid informed decision, that also makes a huge difference, because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy life as well. You want to realize that your day to day, your moment to moment actually means something, that it's actually contributing to something. And so if your personality fits with that, by all means, do something as arduous and as high energy and high octane as being an entrepreneur. But if that's not for you, by all means, do something else that you feel like fits your personality. And so, yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. Truly, entrepreneurship is trendy. It's incredible. I would rather not do. I wouldn't do anything other than this job. But I know it has its drawbacks and it's not for everyone. So, love that answer from you, Joel.
So Jahin, I have this theory, and I'd love to test it out on you. I think that entrepreneurs have this like undescribable and unquenchable need to prove to themselves what they're capable of. Like, and I think most entrepreneurs, well, every entrepreneur I've ever met that I've spoken to this about, they're not doing this for the financial gains, and they're not doing this to prove it to someone else. They're knowing that they have something different inside of them, and they can feel that, and they're not going to stop until they've proven to themselves what they're capable of, which they even can understand is a journey that will never end, because you're never capable. Like, you can always grow. Does that resonate with you?
100%. Honestly, 120%. And it's funny, and I do apologize if I swear, but I saw something on X or Twitter recently, and somebody said something similar to that, of every successful company startup founder or business owner or entrepreneur, they've always, and I quote, I apologize for swearing, I quote, they've got something fucked up about them that every single one of them, there's just something that they've experienced or they're traumatized by that drives them to fill that gap and hole. And I resonate with that, not in a, traumatic lens, but growing up, for example,
Yeah.
I'm South Asian, anybody knows ethnic parents have this undying, you know, unrelaxing expectation that you have to be the best, you have to, education and everything. And I've always been conditioned that my outcome of success and me being worthy as a person is how much I achieve. And I don't think I've ever been able to grow out of that. And so entrepreneurship and running the Australian School of Entrepreneurship, that drives me. That's like my hunger. That's my fire in my belly. And it comes from me being messed up from a young age, because I realized my only metric of worth and success is, am I doing well? Am I, achieving things? So completely resonate with that. And it's quite a sad reality, but it's what drives you in many cases.
Yeah. Well, man, hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I don't know how easy or difficult that is to share, but like, that theory for me, it absolutely resonates with me as well. I can't see an end for this, quest to prove that things are okay. But yeah, so memory of a fish. Do you have that? Are you trying to prove something to yourself? Because if so, then you should be an entrepreneur, because you can't prove it anywhere else. Um, awesome. Right. Well, let's wrap that one up. I think we're pretty clear on that, which is, being an entrepreneur is, should you be one? It's really up to you. If for one, if you're trying to prove something to yourself to see what you're capable of, then entrepreneur is a great path for that. But it depends on how you measure success. If you love the grind, if you love growth, if you love challenge, if you really want to make an impact, if you want to be on your own, then maybe the world of startups is for you. But if you value financial security, if you value 9 to 5 and you value time outside of work, that's also totally fine. And I encourage that for a lot of people. Then maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. But entrepreneurship is it's a tough gig, but it's also the most freeing and gratifying thing that I can imagine for myself. All right, memory of a fish, you've been advised. Now, we're running a little short on time, but we're going to do one last challenge, and we're going to speed run this one. But I picked this one so specifically for Jahin. So this one is called, I have no confidence. I have a fantastic idea. I've planned it extensively. There's certainly demand for it. But it requires a level of public speaking that's beyond me. I've gone to public speaking classes before, and it helps a bit, but I don't know if I have what it takes. Any advice on how to overcome this obstacle? And this one's from Thoughts and Questions.
Fantastic thoughts and questions. And first and foremost, you've been going to the wrong public speaking workshops and courses. Come to our one. No, I'm joking. In terms of
That's a great plug.
I had to. That's what we do for business.
Yeah.
In terms of confidence, before I even talk about how to build confidence, the main thing I want to focus on, and it's one of my favorite quotes that, again, a mentor of mine told me when I was in my teens. He told me that self-belief is the fertile ground for the miraculous. Self-belief is the fertile ground for the miraculous. If you want to achieve something that's extraordinary, that puts you out of your comfort zone, where you're just like, wow, I did that, you have to have self-belief. How do you get self-belief? Through confidence. When you get confidence, what happens? You're a great public speaker. In terms of getting confidence and going on stage and doing any form of public speaking, the number one tip to become more confident, and I know most people are going to, roll their eyes at this because, they've heard it in the past before, but it's the only way to do it. The only way to build confidence is to do more of the thing that you want to improve on. So, for example, public speaking is a skill. To become more confident in public speaking, unfortunately, my friend, you have to do more of that thing, of that skill over and over again. Now, there are a bunch of strategies that you can utilize. Public speaking is a very psychological game. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it, how you convey yourself, body language, all those things, focusing on that. But it's about doing it as much as possible. And one quick, sprint of an advice I'll give you. One thing I did during lockdown, and I was about, 20 years old during lockdown, and I couldn't find an audience to speak and improve my public speaking, right? We're in lockdown. I'm at home. What I did every single night for 3 months, and this is something I stand by, and we teach at the Australian School of Entrepreneurship. 5 steps. 5 quick steps that take 1 minute each. The first thing I did is I texted a friend, and I said, hey, mate, give me a random topic to talk about. He'd give me a topic like an iPhone, or a chair, or a table. That was minute number 1. Minute number 2, I would open my webcam on my MacBook and I'd record myself 60 seconds talking about that random topic. I've got no preparation, no confidence on what I talk about. A chair for 60 seconds nonstop. The third minute, I'd watch that back and I'd take notes. I'd say, my eye contact was quite crappy here, or my body language, I was talking too fast, or all of these things. I'd be self-critical. The fourth minute, I'd put that sticky note on top of my MacBook where I wrote all the notes, and I'd close my MacBook. And in the fifth minute, I'd actually reflect and be like, okay, tomorrow when I do this activity again, I'm going to, number one, use my eye contact better because that was something I lacked in. I'm going to use my body language better. I'm going to slow down. I did that for 3 months nonstop, Joel. It was the worst grind of my life, trying to find friends to give me a random topic. But in those 3 months, I learned how to speak on the spot so that now if you give me, 2,000 people in an audience and you tell me, go, I want you to talk about toilet paper, I can wing a 40-minute speech about toilet paper on the spot because I've practiced how to speak impromptu and the skill of validating myself and having the conviction, because I had no audience to practice in front of. I just had myself and watching myself back and being self-critical and validating myself. And so that's one thing that truly, it's such a simple thing. It takes 5 minutes every day, but it really improved my confidence. So that now when I go on stages and it's a very difficult situation, I can wing it. I can be impromptu and be as confident as possible, whether I'm pitching, whether I'm, speaking in front of a crowd, whether I'm doing a workshop. So that's what I'd love to leave you with. Obviously, there's other ways in the sense of body language and different workshops that you can do. But fundamentally, it's about validating yourself and having that conviction so that every word you say, everything that you convey to the audience, it comes with so much confidence that everyone's like, wow, this person is speaking so well. I'm going to listen, I'm going to engage, and I'm going to do whatever the call to action this person is telling me to do.
Man, that's a great process. And I think the reason that process works so well is because you're always your own harshest critic. So like if you can actually stomach the idea of watching yourself back and giving yourself notes, like you're just going to get so much better. I would just add to be compassionate to yourself as well. If this is something that you're getting better, like also point out things that you've done well. It's not just about critiquing what's gone wrong, but also like what are the things about your public speaking that you actually think are great? And so you can double down on those things too. But, my advice to this question is that you don't like public speaking. You want to get better at public speaking. Put the fucking reps in. It's the only way to do it. Like, I hated public speaking when I first started Vigo. Now I love it. Like, I love doing it. And it's just, you just got to do it more and more and more and more and more. And one of the approaches that I take that I still love doing is that whenever I find someone that just speaks really well or does a pitch that I fucking love, I break that down and I'm just like, what did they do? Why did I love that so much? What is the approach that they took? And one person over the past couple of years that I've watched a lot of pitches of, which I don't know, people probably won't like this, is Adam Newman. That guy is the greatest salesperson of all time. You might disagree with what he did with his company, but holy shit, is he good at pitching. And so I would just find a bunch of pitches from someone like that, and I'd be like, what is he doing in his pitch? Like, how is he talking? What's the emotion he's conveying? And then I'd learn that, and then I'll just do it again. And then I'd pitch, and I'd pitch, and I'd pitch, and I'd just do more and more and more public speaking. So, I love your approach there, your 5-step approach, Jahin. But the reason I think it works, because of your first point, is that it's just repetition. You've got to do it more and more and more and more. And I don't know, maybe there's a secret hack where you can get hypnotized to like it or something like that. But when I first started and I was scared, I would always just pretend to be someone else, which might sound weird. But like, I remember my co-founder, he was always so confident when he was public speaking. And I was just like, just pretend that I'm like my co-founder right now. Like he'd be excited to go up. So like, but I'd pretend I'm excited to go up and I'd get through it until I got more confident. Yeah. But yeah, man, I just think reps are the only thing that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Pretending that you're someone else, that's actually a technique that we teach as well, of having an alter ego, where it's like, yes, you can have your own personality that you speak to people, and that's you. But when you're on stage or in front of an audience, have an alter ego. A lot of our participants that go to our public speaking sessions, they call my alter ego. They actually named my alter ego as, get this, it's quite cringe, but I've just owned it. And they call it Captain Charisma. It's like I'm some sort of superhero where I'm just like, hi, lovely to meet you, happy Monday. It's a complete different version of who I am if I'm at home on the couch watching Netflix. But I get to go into that zone and become Captain Charisma. And it takes all the fear away because it's not them judging me or me judging Jahin. It's me being Captain Charisma, some random superhero that a bunch of 12-year-olds created at a workshop one day. So I think that also helps quite a lot because it takes the focus off of you and focuses on the message and the actual aim of why you're even public speaking in the first place.
I like that approach, but you're right. That is cringe. No, I actually do love the approach though. And yeah, just come up with an alter ego, whether it's someone you know or someone made up. But look, let's wrap this one up here. So, look, if you're scared about public speaking, the only real way to get around it is to just public speak more. So find every possible chance you can to public speak. And if you're struggling to get as many opportunities as you can, do the exact 5-step process that Jahin mentioned, to get better, and you can do it every single day. And I'm going to try and repeat back what I think Jahin's 5-step process was. Step 1, get a random topic. So text a friend or pitch please the game to get some good topics here. Then for 1 minute, just get your laptop out and record your pitch or your presentation and just talk about that topic for an entire minute. Then watch it back and sit through the awkwardness of watching yourself speak. Then take notes on it and work out what was good, what was bad, what you can do better, and then reflect. So I think it was like idea, record, watch, notes, reflect.
On the money.
Right. I'm so glad. All right. 5 steps is a lot for me to remember. So, all right. That is all the advice for our last thoughts and questions question today. So that brings us to the last section of the show, which is plugs. So tell us, Jahin, what's going on? What would you like to plug today?
Oh, Joel, honestly, I think for me, life skills is always my biggest passion. I want to teach as many people life skills, but the reality is we don't teach anybody individually. So if someone like Jackson came to me and like, hey, I want to learn public speaking, I can't give you any support because we always go through an organization. So if anybody wants to learn any form of life skills such as public speaking, emotional intelligence, diversity and inclusion, and you really want to learn about it, get your organization, your university, your workplace, or school, wherever you are, and give us a message. We won't charge you at all. We've never charged a workshop participant ever in the Australian School of Entrepreneurship history. We always charge the organization who have the money. So if you want any life skills training that's award-winning, that's delivered by Young Australians of the Year, TEDx speakers, which is our team, get in touch with us, get your organization in touch with us, and we'd love to change your life as we have with 180,000 plus Australians.
Man, what a plug. I like it. And we'll keep all of those links in the notes as well. And then on my side, like and subscribe. Same message every week. Get your phone out right now. Go to YouTube, press subscribe. Leave a really kind, funny comment, actually. I'd really like that this week. I'd like some comments on there. And go on to all the platforms, like and subscribe on all of them. And then, as I always say, steal a phone. Subscribe on their phone too. It's totally fine. It's for a good reason. And look, if you have questions, send them in. Send them through to podcast@joeldittrapani.com and we'll answer them. And lastly, I'm just going to include a booking link like always. So if you want to chat, hit me up. Let's have a conversation. What are you going through? Tell me the challenges you're going through in your business. I love talking about this shit. And that's it, man. Let's wrap this one up. Jahin, thank you so much for coming on, man. Your advice and your stories and being vulnerable, I appreciate it so much. This has been such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Joel.
All right, this has been another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. We'll see you all next week.